Okay, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to uncover a genuine, real-life geological detective story. We're heading to the Witwatersrand Basin in South Africa. We're going to decode the sheer tectonic violence, the ancient rivers, and some seriously cutting-edge forensic science to figure out exactly how this single, mind-bogglingly rich patch of Earth came to exist in the first place. To really wrap our heads around the context of this, think about that quote for a second. Back in 1886, a quiet, sprawling farming region was violently and abruptly transformed. This wasn't just your standard treasure hunt. The rock buried beneath that specific soil literally financed wars. It built the entire city of Johannesburg practically out of canvas tents in just a decade. And it completely rewired the arteries of global finance forever. And get this, because this is the crucial, almost unbelievable point to grasp right out of the gate. Almost 50% of all the gold ever mined in human history came from this one specific basin. Think about that. Miners have spent centuries scouring the entire globe, but absolutely nothing else even comes close to this single spot. Section 1. Discovery of the Century. A golden fluke. So how did they find it? Well, it all started when a drifter named George Harrison literally just stumbled upon an outcropping of what early miners called banket. It's a conglomerate of quartz pebbles that kind of looked like a traditional Dutch sweet treat. But here's the thing, this discovery was a massive total fluke. The vast majority of this mineralized rock is actually buried incredibly deep underground. If the Earth's surface right there had been just a few hundred meters higher, it would have stayed completely hidden, and the massive economic engine of that entire subcontinent might never have been found. Section 2, a true geological giant, the elephant of deposits. To really put this into perspective, when we think of giant modern mines today, we usually picture places like Bingham Canyon in Utah, right? That's a massive open pit about 3.5 kilometers wide. But the Witwatersrand is totally different. The gold there sits in these really thin, horizontal conglomerate layers that miners call reefs. It is so sprawling that you could take 10 of those massive Bingham Canyon open pits and fit them inside just the Vol Reef section alone. It is an absolute elephant of a deposit. Section 3. Basin formation and tectonics. A violent history. Now, the creation of this basin was anything but peaceful. After the initial gold-bearing rocks were laid down over 3 billion years ago, the Earth's crust went through some intense, violent compression. It just squished everything together. But then, in a geological flash, practically on a Tuesday in Earth years, the whole region suddenly rifted apart. This incredibly rapid extension buried all that gold under thousands of feet of volcanic lava. And honestly, that is exactly what preserved it from just eroding away over the eons. We can actually distill millions of years of total geological chaos into a pretty clean life cycle. First, ancient braided rivers eroded gold from a mountainous basement, carrying it along and sorting it out on ancient shorelines. Then, early life forms, basically these sticky, millimeter-thick algomats, acted like huge carbon traps, catching the tiny gold particles. And finally, deep crustal fluids basically baked the rocks, redistributing that gold along structural fractures. Section 4, the gold origin debate, placer versus hydrothermal. Which brings us to one of the greatest academic controversies in geology. Where did the gold originally come from? There are two really heavily entrenched camps. The placer camp argues that the gold simply washed down those ancient rivers. And honestly, this is a highly predictive model that mining companies literally use to find ore today. But on the flip side, the hydrothermal camp makes a great point. There's absolutely no evidence of a source mountain range big enough to provide that much gold. Plus, they note that almost all other giant deposits around the world are formed by hot fluids moving through rock fractures, not by rivers. Section 5. Forensic geological evidence. Solving the mystery. So, to settle the score, scientists decided to go full forensic. They turned to an incredibly precise geological clock, found in trace elements trapped inside the gold grains themselves. Basically, by chemically separating rhenium-187 and carefully measuring exactly how much of it has decayed into osmium-187, geologists can determine the exact age of the gold itself. It's like a tiny, extremely slow stopwatch locked inside the metal. And the data they found? It's a total smoking gun. First up, the radioisotope dating proves the gold is exactly 3 billion years old. That means the gold is actually older than the conglomerate rocks it's sitting in. That completely throws a wrench in the purely hydrothermal argument. Furthermore, the osmium fingerprints don't match standard crust at all. they correlate perfectly with cometites. Now, cometites are these extreme, high-temperature rocks from the deep mantle that basically only existed way back in the Archaean era. So what's the final verdict? Well, neither extreme theory holds all the answers, so it's a compromise. The ancient rivers definitely eroded unique 3-billion-year-old mantle rocks, and that gold was indeed trapped by those sticky algal mats. But later on, during those violent tectonic compressions we talked about earlier, hot hydrothermal fluids used the newly formed fault lines as deep conduits, remobilizing that gold locally. It's really a perfect marriage of both theories. Section 6, Legacy and Peak Gold. The end of an era? Let's step back into the present for a minute. While this basin absolutely dominated global finance for an entire century, the era of easy access is completely over. The Witwatersrand now contains some of the deepest mines on Earth. We are talking about operations that push the absolute literal limits of human endurance and engineering. The remaining high-grade reefs are trapped so incredibly deep that only the most massive global mining corporations can even survive the cost to reach them. And all of this is happening while the region continues to wrestle with a very complex political and economic legacy. Which leaves us with a pretty massive question for the future of our global economy. Remember, almost half of all the gold ever mined came from this one single basin, all thanks to a totally freak set of geological circumstances that just hasn't been replicated anywhere else on the planet. So with the ultimate gold elephant finally winding down and becoming far too deep to profitably mine, it really makes you wonder, have we already passed peak global gold? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to think on that.